Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. So in our last two parts of the RBCs, polycythemia and anemia, we have discussed almost major portion of this chapter, but the remaining portion of this chapter is like discussion on the anemia, its effects and polycythemia etc. So would be discussed here in this video. So without wasting time, let's get started the video. So our first topic would be the lifespan of RBCs is about 120 days. So here we will discuss about the lifespan of RBCs. It's about 120 days. Now as we know that the RBCs don't have any organelle and no nucleus, so the question arises is that how it makes its ATPs and perform its cellular functions. It has some cytoplasmic enzymes which perform some activities. Like here I am writing that RBCs contain some cytoplasmic enzymes now I'm writing the functions of these cytoplasmic enzymes. So the first function they perform is that they maintain the pliability, it means flexibility of its membrane, right? And the second function is it helps in the maintenance of the membrane transport of the ions, so helps in transport of ions, right? Then the third function is that it helps to prevent the oxidation of ferrous into ferric and helps preventing and keeping the iron in the ferrous form, so keeps iron in ferrous form, right? And the next function is that it helps in the metabolizing glucose and some amounts of the ATP, so or we can say that a formation of ATP, in formation of ATP. Next is that it prevents oxidation of proteins, right? Then as we know that its RBC's cell membrane is fragile, so it can squeeze out through the spleen, pores and the membrane. So the spleen membrane has the diameter, the spleen duct has the diameter of 3 micrometer. So if a RBC is mature and is healthier, so it passes out through that spleen without any, without any hindrance, so it just passes out and squeezes out through that membrane. But if the RBC has completed its lifespan of 120 days and has its cytoplasmic enzymes dead and the function and all these functions are not working, so it is hindered in the in the spleen membrane. So here I am writing that the spleen capillaries are 3 micrometer wide, while the RBCs are mature RBC, as we discussed, it is 7.8 micrometer in diameter, right? So it has to squeeze out and change its shape in order to pass from that spleen capillaries, right? So now coming upon that, what is anemia and about some importance of the anemias. But before that, how we should know that how that spleen works. So when the RBC immature or something defective RBC is obstructed in the spleen membrane, spleen capillaries, So then the macrophages of the spleen and the Kupffer cells of the liver arrives there and engulfs that RBC, and they destruct that RBC into some components. The first component is that it destructs into the porphyrin part. Like hemoglobin is destructed into the porphyrin part, which is later converted into the bilirubin. So the here I am writing that the porphyrin part of hemoglobin converted into bilirubin, which is a yellowish pigment that is seen in the urine, right? So and the globin part is like separated from it, right? Also, now coming upon our next topic, that is anemias. Now anemia is nothing but simply the deficiency of the hemoglobin, and it can be because of it can be of different types. Now here we will discuss those different types. Deficiency of hemoglobin. Either there are few RBCs or few little hemoglobin, so that is causing hindrance in the production of the RBCs. So the first one, the first type of the anemia is the blood loss anemia. When a person is met accidentally by an accident, so then blood is lost. Normally the plasma portion of the blood is regenerated within 1 to 3 days, and the cellular portion is recovered within 3 to 6 weeks. But if it does not appears again, or it is not corrected again, then it causes the blood deficiency or blood loss anemia. So here I am writing that first one is blood loss anemia. Plasma portion recovered in 1 to 3 days, while the cellular portion recovers in 3 to 6 weeks, right? Then the second type of the anemia is aplastic anemia, right? The aplastic anemia is because that there is some defect in the bone marrow, which is the main production house of the RBCs. So there, and it can be due to several reasons, like there is some destruction to the bone marrow because of some x-rays, high doses, or because of some disease, that is autoimmune disease, like lupus erythematosus, right? So here I am writing that aplastic anemia is because of defective bone marrow, right? In the lupus erythematosus, i.e. in lupus erythematosus, it's an autoimmune disease. The immune system attacks its bone marrow, right? And there is no specific cause for this aplastic anemia, so it is also called idiopathic aplastic anemia. Like, we don't know about the cause, that's called idiopathic, right? The next type of the anemia is megaloblastic anemia. In this, the size of the RBC is increased. Basically, when we see the RBC on the microscope, it is seen on the more reddish on the sides, while the paler in the center, because there less hemoglobin is present in the center, while the more RBCs are present in the peripheries. But when we see the megaloblastic or the microcytic anemic like RBCs, they are seen like with the like all normal RBCs or distributions. So the megaloblastic anemia, it is because of vitamin B12 or vitamin B9 or intrinsic factor deficiency. As I told you in in my previous video about the pernicious anemia, it is also a part of the megaloblastic anemia. In the pernicious anemia also, the RBC size becomes large, right? So this is all about it. Then the next anemia is hemolytic anemia. In the hemolytic anemia, the RBCs are have the hereditary problem. So it is hereditary problem. Right. So in the hemolytic anemia, what happens is that the RBC's membrane lost their fragility, and while passing from the spleen capillaries, they obstruct there, and then they are destroyed, and they are destroyed in very rapid numbers, so causing the deficiency of the RBCs, thus causing anemia. And as they are broken or broken, so it's called lytic, right? So the next thing is that the effects of the anemia. Now in the anemia, what happens is that viscosity of the blood decreases. Viscosity is basically the resistance to flow. So as the viscosity decreases, then the resistance to flow decreases, and if the resistance is decreased, then the cardiac output is generally increased, right? So viscosity decreases and it becomes 3. Oh, normal is 3 and it becomes 1.5. Normal value 3, right? Viscosity decrease, cardiac output increase. Cardiac output increase sometimes 3 to 4 times. Cardiac output 3 to 4 time increase, right? Then the next thing is polycythemia. So here I am writing polycythemia. It is the opposite as that of the anemia. In this condition, the RBC's numbers are increased abnormally. There are two types of the polycythemia. The first one is primary and the second one is secondary. In the primary, first we are gonna discuss primary. This is also called the polycythemia vera. Polycythemia vera or erythemia. Right? It's a pathological condition. In this, the RBC's count becomes 7 to 8 million per cubic milliliter from the normal 4 to 5, and the hemocrit, which is normally 40 to 45%, it becomes 60 to 70%, right? And yes, in this condition also the platelets and WBCs are also infected, and the cardiac output becomes twice. Cardiac output or the blood flow becomes twice normal, and yes, the viscosity becomes 10 times, because as I told you that the polycythemia is opposite as that of the anemia. So if in the anemia the viscosity is decreasing, then in the polycythemia viscosity will be increasing. Viscosity increase and it becomes 10 from the normal value 3, right? Then the second type of the polycythemia is secondary. In the secondary polycythemia, what happens is that it is because of some conditions like high altitude, hypoxia, cardiac failure, and these are the reasons that is because of the secondary polycythemia occurs. In the secondary polycythemia, what occurs is that the RBC count becomes 6 to 7 million per millimeter cube. That is about 30% above normal, right? And it occurs because of some pathological conditions. That is, their cause is, the first one is cardiac failure. The second one is like high altitude or the height of the 14 to 17,000 feet, right? And hypoxia are the cause because of these conditions. Now the effects of the polycythemia. The effects of the polycythemia are as that opposite of the anemia. In this, the viscosity is increased. So in the increased viscosity, what happens is the cardiac output decreases because the resistance is increased. So viscosity increases, viscosity increase, cardiac output decrease. Now, because of increased viscosity and the decreased cardiac output, what happens, and one more thing about the polycythemia is because of the large number of the RBCs produced, what happens is the amount of the blood is increased. So here I am writing that the amount of RBCs increased. So what happens, the blood volume is increased, blood volume increase, right? If the blood volume is increased, then the cardiac output is automatically increased. So these all factors, like all factors manage or neutralize each other. Factors neutralize each other and no effect on the cardiac output occurs. Now, the only symptom for recognizing the polycythemic patient is that cyanosis on its skin. Its skin color becomes blue. So, skin color of patient becomes, skin color becomes blue or cyanotic. Basically, the skin color is depends upon the quantity of the blood in the skin subpapillary venous plexus. So here it's also a point to be noted that the skin color basically depends on, skin color depend on blood quantity in skin subpapillary venous plexus, right? So this is all about the RBCs, anemia and polycythemia. Here we are done with our chapter. So guys, please like, comment and share my video as much as you can, and the picture of these notes I will post on my Facebook page, whose link I will drop in the description box below. So thank you guys.